Oh,
Hello?
Caitlin,
Yes.
how's it going?
How are you?
Great. How much time do you have?
What time is it? 12:45. I have 12 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, I figured I just
Is that
got back from
enough?
HMR. Yeah, we'll make it enough. So I'm recording this right now. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I want to give my true for fact spill. So I am Jamal for everyone who is listening to this. I am a personal trainer, and I specialize in weight management, and I have here an awesome dietitian who is going to give some of her thoughts on the paleo diet. So if you don't mind to introduce who you are, just tell everyone about yourself and what people should know that makes you credible.
Sure. My name is Caitlin Lantier. I'm a registered and licensed dietitian. I currently run my own practice. It's called Smart Belly Nutrition, and my focus is on adult weight loss and wellness, as well as child and family nutrition. I'm also the registered dietitian for Baptist East Milestone Wellness Center, and I'm a fitness trainer at Orange Theory Fitness Studio in St. Matthews here in Louisville. Let's see, my bachelor's is in nutrition science and dietetics from Syracuse University, and my master's degree is in medical nutrition therapy from The Ohio State University. So that, in a nutshell, is my background in health and nutrition.
Beautiful. Great background. Awesome. So, what have you heard about the paleo diet? What's your experiences with it? Have you ever had a client that tried to do it or anything like that? Just out of curiosity.
I haven't had a client, I wouldn't say that specifically has tried paleo. I've had clients that have led semi-paleo lifestyles, I think. So I would say overall that the paleo diet has done an excellent job at raising awareness about the importance of eating real foods and whole foods. Do I think that it has possibly overcomplicated the simplicity of eating real and whole foods? Definitely. I do think that the diet assumes that we know a lot more about our ancestors' eating habits and their health than we actually do know. And in fact, our ancestors were likely eating what was in season. So if our ancestors were in tropical climates, that meant that they ate a lot of fruits and vegetables and fish. If they were in cooler climates, they were probably hunting a bit more, eating a lot more meat, probably not quite as much fruit. And so it's unfair for us to say that this way of eating is superior to any other way of eating based on information that we don't fully understand. So there's also additional information coming out about heart disease and atherosclerosis existing during the Paleolithic time, which is, well before Cheetos and processed food. So it's obvious that Cheetos and processed food lead to complications. They're not the healthiest thing in the world. We probably shouldn't be eating a lot of it, but it's unfair to say that that's the entire reason that we've got disease in our culture.
Right.
So overall, it's a great way to learn how to understand how to eat real whole foods. And for somebody that likes to have a little bit of a blueprint or food rules, maybe like, I can't have that because it says this. So a black and white thinker, it would be great. But if it's somebody that has a hard time following a rigid diet plan, I would never recommend it.
Gotcha. So it depends on the person. It's very individual based. And would you say it's effective for weight loss, or would you say it's not effective? Like, what do you think would make the diet effective or not effective for weight loss?
What would make it effective, I would say the fact that you're cutting out processed food. So by cutting out processed and junk food, you cut out excess empty calories that leave you feeling hungry and unsatisfied. So if you're eating real whole foods, which the paleo diet calls for, you're feeding your body what it needs and what it's asking for. So you feel satisfied and you've got enough energy to go out and be active. On the other hand, for somebody that has a hard time following the diet, or, just in general, diets are pretty ineffective, I guess, at promoting weight loss that lasts, because it places rules on foods and it makes eating less enjoyable, which causes people to retaliate and kind of give up on the healthier diet. So that can lead to binging because you're restricting. It can lead to a feeling of like oh gosh, I suck. I can't believe I ate that Snickers. Well, I might as well go to Kroger and get brownie mix now. It's over. So it depends on the person. So it can be very effective or it could be pretty ineffective. And like, what if someone lives 40 miles from the grocery store and they can't get fresh produce every day? Or what if they're surrounded by people that eat fast food for every meal? It could be a lot more difficult for that individual specifically to follow this diet.
Right. Okay, thank you. So I'm reading this book called The Paleo Diet from Lauren. He's a PhD. He's very into the research of how we used to live back in the day, the Paleolithic age, and what they ate. So he made some interesting claims in the first few chapters. And because I'm not a dietitian, I didn't 100% know how much some of these claims are true or whatever. So I wanted to kind of get your perspective on some of these. One of them he made is if one reduces their carbohydrate intake, they'll see a decrease in their blood triglycerides and increases in good cholesterol. Would you say that's true?
There certainly is new research on that topic and more emerging research on that topic that I think needs to be looked at in more detail, and more studies need to be done. But I think at this point it would be safe to say that we should look at the diet altogether. So by cutting out carbohydrates specifically, that's not going to directly affect your triglyceride levels or your cholesterol levels. So, you could say cutting out meat is going to help lower your cholesterol. Well, sure, of course. It carries cholesterol and it has saturated fat. Of course it's going to help lower your blood cholesterol. I think the better question is, or the better indicator is, foods that happen to be classified as carbohydrates, for example, table crackers or saltines, also have a lot of saturated fat. So it's important to look at the way that the study was run. Is this just carbohydrates that people are eating? Are the carbohydrates associated with saturated fat and cholesterol? Does the person also have a diet that is high in saturated fat and cholesterol as well? Are carbohydrates the only thing being taken out? So there's a lot more to it than just one simple blanket statement that says stop eating carbs and you'll lower your triglycerides. I think for the everyday person, by cutting out processed foods that happen to be labeled as a carbohydrate, you would be doing something good for your body, and you would see your blood triglycerides coming down. But I would never say that it's just the carbohydrates.
Right. Okay. So on the subject of saturated fats, it mentions that there's different types of saturated fats. One is stearic acid. Is it true that that type of saturated fat is good, whereas the other ones are not so good for your health?
There are a few studies that have been written about stearic acid, and most of them really compare stearic acid to trans fats. So I think that we all know at this point that trans fats have a pretty negative effect on our bodies. So most food companies have gotten rid of them. And, yeah, stearic acids help to lower your LDL, but they will not raise your HDL. So unsaturated fatty acids, rule of thumb, are always better than any sort of saturated fat, period, end of story. But are stearic acids superior to trans fats? Yes. And are they superior to other types of saturated fats? Yeah. They're not the best fat.
Next question. When it comes to starches, it is really against starches. Do we even need starches in our diet? Why should we have them? Why shouldn't we have them? The book mentions that and this is not a complete quote, but basically that they suck in nutrition compared to fruits, vegetables, and meats, so we don't really 100% need them. It also mentions that they're not exactly useful, and we should, kind of stay away from them. So what's your thoughts on starches? Are they needed? Are they actually specific, nutritious? What's your thoughts overall?
How are you defining a starch? Are you defining that as a processed grain or like potatoes, or what's the definition of starch in that question?
Well, it's talking about basically you don't want to eat any non-starch, or you don't want to eat any starchy fruits or vegetables. So I'm guessing that means potatoes, corn, beans for sure. That's a for sure thing. There's no beans, can't have that. Also, no whole wheat bread, no any of that. No.
So I'm assuming that they're getting to the glycemic index, which is pretty carries little to no merit anymore.
Yeah, they do talk about
that. I know that the glycemic index is beginning to get more attention in the media, but it's been disproven before. And just like everything else with food nutrition, things come and they go. So at one point, saturated fat was terrible, and fat in general was terrible. So we started putting more sugar in the thing. Well, now sugar is the devil, and it's going to kill us. So we're going to take that out, and then we're going to get more fat. And then in 10 years from now, we're going to do the same exact thing. We're going to reverse the way that we think about it. So it goes along with the everything in moderation, but it's a real shame to cut out things like legumes, so beans or carrots, because we're assuming that they're not good for us or that they're doing something to our bodies that everyday Joe Schmo cannot even explain. We're just cutting it out because we believe that this book that was written for profit is true. So, those foods carry a lot of great nutritional value. Carrots have a lot of vitamin C. They've got a lot of B vitamins in them. They've got a lot of fiber in them, which is going to help lower your blood cholesterol, which it seems like we've been talking a lot about. So I think that it's unfortunate that they say not to eat starches, but do I think that you're going to die from not having those foods? No.
So you can live, but you may not essentially maximize your nutrition or your longevity of just living in this world of eating.
I don't think it would make or break you, but I think it would make getting certain nutrients a bit more difficult when you could just eat them. So it's like when you take a medication and they've got side effects. Well, the FDA would not allow that medication to come out if the cons outweighed the pros or if the risks outweighed the benefits, right? So it's kind of a similar idea. So does the glycemic index hold any merit? Maybe, maybe not, most likely not. Do those foods have excellent nutritious value, or however you'd like to say that? Yes, they definitely do. So therefore, it would be in your best interest to eat them rather than avoid them.
Gotcha. Thank you very much. Do you have time for a 1-minute question?
Yeah.
All right. What are overall the benefits of starches? Like, why would we need whole wheat bread? Why would we need anything like that? So is there any specific things about them that makes them really useful to have in our diets?
Whole wheat bread?
Yeah, whole wheat bread, oatmeal, rice, things like that.
Yeah. So 100% whole grains are amazing. They've got tons of fiber. There's protein in them. Helps lower your blood cholesterol. Helps keep your gut bacteria healthy. Helps you continue to go to the restroom like you should be. The other thing is we live in America, and so most grains are fortified or enriched, meaning they've got extra vitamins in them that you wouldn't be able to get. So that's why we don't have people in America walking around with like goiter or other vitamin and mineral deficiencies that we can't help. So in other third world countries where they don't fortify and enrich their grains, you would see deficiencies that do affect people's everyday health. So that's another thing to think about.
Gotcha. All right. Well, thank you very much for your thoughts and opinions. And this will be on YouTube and also trueforfad.com. So thank you, Caitlin.
All right. Thank you.
All right. See you.